Hi, you guys, and welcome back. Let's continue our discussion on spirituality versus religion. Okay, and so today I want to talk to you guys and read from this article from Chopra Meditation, and it's called, the title of the article is Religion versus Spirituality, the difference between them. Okay, oftentimes, you guys know on the channel we talk a lot about religion versus spirituality. And you guys will hear me oftentimes talk about how I am not a religious person at all. I do not follow or affiliate with any particular religion at all. I was, however, raised and went to all Catholic schools, and I did follow the Catholic religion and Catholicism for most of my life, all the way up to and through university. I went to Catholic schools. However, after I became an adult and in my 20s, I started to realize that, following a particular type of religion just did not gel or resonate with me any longer. You guys remember I've spoken with you guys before about I went through a spiritual awakening a few years ago. And with that spirituality and that awakening, I realized even more so how much I am not a religious person at all. But oftentimes people are kind of confused on like, what is the difference between like being a religious person and being a spiritual person. So I wanted to make this video today and kind of delve in a little bit deeper as far as like what is a religious person and what is a spiritual person. And then I'll kind of give you guys some of my background and viewpoints on this as well. Okay, so let's read this article. Religion versus Spirituality by Adam Brady, August 4th, 2020. Okay. It says, you may have heard or even used the terms religion and spirituality interchangeably, but while they aren't diametric opposites, neither they the same. Learn how to tell the difference between religion and spirituality. For thousands of years, humanity has passionately pursued the truth with a capital T, the ultimate answers to life and the universe. This perennial knowledge constitutes the answers to what are often called the soul questions. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? What is the meaning of life? Historically, from the perspective of the soul, there have been two foundational routes to discover these truths: religion and spirituality. Although they have many similarities and there is a relationship between the two, there are differences between religion and spirituality. Religion, by definition, religion is a personal set or institutionalized system of religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices, the service and worship of God or the supernatural. Spirituality, on the other hand, connotes an experience of connection to something larger than you, living everyday life in a reverent and sacred manner. Or as Krishna Pushalski, MD, leader in trying to incorporate spirituality into healthcare, puts it, spirituality is the aspect of humanity that refers to the way individuals seek and express meaning and purpose in the way they experience their connectedness to the moment, to self, to others, to nature, and to the significant or sacred. Origins of religions and spirituality. Religions are most often based upon the lives, teachings, and beliefs of a historical or archetypal figure. Example given: Christ, Buddha, Moses, Krishna, Muhammad. The details of their lives as holy or highly evolved beings have been carried to us across the mists of time through oral tradition and written scriptures. These figures are the subject of worship and devotion and form the foundation of religious practices and rituals in a community. Okay, this is kind of making sense how we know religion. Now, spirituality, by contrast, is more often based upon the practical application of the founder's teachings. Spiritual aspirants heed the advice of Japanese poet Matsuo Basho. Do not seek to follow the footsteps of the wise, seek what they saw. End quote. The lines blur. If you feel these definitions get blurry and cross into each other's territory, you're not alone. For example, you may know people who consider themselves spiritual but not religious. Conversely, there can be individuals who are devoutly religious but are not what most would consider deeply spiritual. Let's try to clear things up by taking a closer look at the most defining differences between religious and spiritual paths. Bear in mind that there are no absolutes in these distinctions. They are merely general markers meant to better explore the qualities between two equally valid approaches to seeking the truth. Objective versus subjective experience. Religion. On the whole, a formal religion is often an objective experience. In other words, there is usually a greater focus on the externals: houses of worship, books of scripture, eternal rituals, observances. This is the equivalent of object referral, in which your attention is placed upon the objects in your experience. Spirituality, however, leans more toward self-referral, or the internalization of your awareness of your soul. Spirituality is an inward journey that involves a shift in awareness rather than some form of external activity. As such, spirituality is much more inner understanding than outer worship. I could not agree with that more. This is not to say that worship is not a part of spirituality. It's a matter of where the devotion and worship are directed. In an external practice, object or figurehead, to your soul, higher self, or divinity within. Organized versus formless. Religion, one of the hallmarks of religion, is its organization. It is a structured, frequently rule-based construct that to some degree governs the behavior of its members. Moral rules, laws, and doctrines, as well as specific codes and criteria, create the organized structure that contains the religion's specific belief system. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. In previous, more uncertain times, the rules and dogma of organized religion helped to give society a sense of certainty and helped to guide and comfort those whose faith was lacking. Spirituality, though, breaks free from the restrictions and rigid structure sometimes associated with traditional religion. The spiritual aspirant recognizes that he or she is on a pathless path of self-discovery. Let me pause right there. To me, you guys, I think that is one of the biggest differences between religion and spirituality. Spirituality, to me, is a form of self-discovery and self-actualization, self-development, about going inward and finding the answers inward. To me, I say this to you guys all the time, I am not a religious person. I am a spiritual person. And the reason why I say that is because of this right here. To me, it's all about the self-discovery, about going within, as opposed to looking for these external sources, external people, external buildings that religion usually provides, looking for the answers externally instead of going within. They are following not a set of external rules, but their own inner call to spirit. Let me say that again. They're saying that with people who are spiritual, they are following not a set of external rules, but their own inner call to spirit. In this way, spirituality can sometimes feel like a rebellious act of going solo and leaving the tribe. Very much in the spirit of American philosopher and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson when he said, quote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment," end quote. Traditional versus evolutionary approach. Religion. Due to their centuries to millennia old histories, religions are by nature often deeply rooted in tradition, ritual, creed, and doctrine. Religious institutions conservatively guard their practices and values, holding rigidly to the past and the original interpretations of the founders' teachings. This is understandable in that all religions wish to preserve the essence of their teachings so they may be accurately transmitted through history. Conversely, spirituality, by comparison, spirituality is often less focused on the rigidly traditional approach and often favors an evolutionary mentality. This refers to both a more flexible and adaptive mindset toward core teachings of the great wisdom traditions, but also reflects the understanding that, as the name implies, spiritual growth is an evolutionary process. Spirituality embraces change and the evolution of consciousness. With spiritual practice, ideas and interpretations change as individuals, societies, and the world move forward. Exclusive versus inclusive. Religion. Traditional religious beliefs, sometimes based upon rigid interpretations of key teachings, can create an exclusive worldview that isolate those who may not share their views or interpretations. Sadly, this religious in-group mentality can be used to justify the exclusion of minorities or they're deemed unworthy of God's favor. Conversely, spirituality makes no such distinctions. Instead, it favors an inclusive approach in the recognition that pure spirit is an unifying force. That pure force is a unifying force. No one is left out. You are part of the universal hologram. All gods and goddesses in disguise. As Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 11, quote, "As men approach me, so I receive them. All paths Aruna lead to me," end quote. In other words, for a spiritual perspective, no one has a monopoly on the truth. Let me repeat that. In other words, for a spiritual perspective, no one has a monopoly on the truth. All are welcome in God's eyes. Belief versus spiritual experience. Religion. At its core, religion is about faith. That is to say, belief in something based upon unconditional acceptance of the religion's teachings. Unlike the scientific worldview, religions don't require evidence to validate their claims. Through religion, you are taught to have faith in God or the scriptures as being the infallible and ultimate truth of reality. Acceptance and surrender to the divine are taught as the path that leads to ultimate salvation. Comparison. Spirituality doesn't dismiss faith. However, it often leans more heavily on direct experience of the soul or divinity. Spiritual practices such as meditation, yoga, silence, and contemplation allow you to make conscious contact with more expanded states of consciousness, thus helping to spirituality validate the teachings rather than accepting them on faith alone. You know something because you have tasted the experience yourself and have allowed it to resonate as opposed to taking the word of another. I express this oftentimes, you guys, in my videos when I say to you guys, you have to experience it first. You have to have your life experience of it to know it, for it to resonate with you. This is one of my major problems with religion, that they feel like their specific religion is law, is the truth. However, there are so many different religions. So how can they all feel and believe that their specific religion is the way, is the truth? Whereas spirituality says, no, I know this to be true because this is what I have experienced. This is what my inner source, my spirituality, my truth, my experience of it has resonated with me, as opposed to taking somebody else's word and their religion and their scripture and what they're reading. Fear versus love. In the religion aspect, despite the best of intentions, religions can sometimes contain a subtle or not so subtle undercurrent of fear woven into their teachings. You guys know this. You know, if you don't do this, you know, God is a judging God. You going to hell. If you do right, you going to heaven. Despite the best of intentions, religions can sometimes contain a subtle or not so subtle undercurrent of fear woven into their teachings. The concepts of original sin, divine judgment, God's wrath, or eternal punishment, I'm putting this in here, aka hell, can create a mental environment burdened in worry and anxiety over your worthiness and whether your actions will result in divine retribution or karmic punishment. Your fate in the afterlife can loom like a specter in the back of your mind, subtly influencing your thoughts and behavior. By contrast, spirituality typically discards the vestiges of fear and worry in favor of a more loving, compassionate approach to life and death. Spirituality embraces a consciousness-based worldview that supports all human beings on their path to awakening in unconditional love and kindness. Your choices and behavior are guided not by fear of punishment, but rather by a desire to end suffering and create a peaceful and loving world for all. That is so true. As you can see, there are noticeable distinctions between spirituality versus religion. However, these comparisons aren't meant to be absolutes or an attempt to polarize one against the other. Religious beliefs and spiritual beliefs differ in the ways in which they are practiced. However, each practice serves as a vehicle to lead you closer to the truth you seek. Whichever path or combination of the two you follow is the personal and subjective expression of your journey of awakening. That's the end of that article, you guys. I wanted to read to you guys this article because I felt like this article did such a phenomenal job in describing the differences between spirituality and religion. And oftentimes I'm telling you, you guys, that my issue with a lot of like religious people is that one, they feel like their religion is the only way, is the true way. And like the article mentioned, and then excluding all of these people who don't follow or believe in that religion. Whereas spirituality is like, we're just all about love. We're all about going within. We're all about having understanding and empathy and compassion toward the next human. As you guys have heard me say many times in my videos, when you're a more spiritual person, you believe in the oneness of us all, that we are all come from one source and that we are the same. We are just like, if you will, just branches coming from the same source. And so, as I have found that people who are more spiritual are definitely more inclusive because we don't really care about what your religion base is. Like, it's like, if that's what you want to follow, if you want to follow Christianity, if you want to follow Buddhism, if you want to follow Allah, like, it's like, we're like, cool. Like, it's no big deal to us. We are more concerned with how you are as a person. We are more concerned with, are you a loving person? Are you a compassionate person? Are you a genuine person? Do you show and express empathy toward people? I have found, you guys, over my years and my experience with religion, and dealing with people from all different types of religious backgrounds and beliefs, I have found that people who are religious seem to be so judgmental. One, judgmental in the fact that they feel like their religion is the only way to go, is the only religion to follow. But also like more judgmental because, again, they come from the belief of that this higher being, God, is a judging God. So then, therefore, they themselves tend to be very judgy, judgmental people. I have found that people who are more spiritual based or claim to be a more spiritual person tend to be more inclusive, tend to be more understanding, less judgmental, more of, I just want to see the betterment of humankind, and less geared toward this, division of religion, division of race, division of nationality. I have seen more spiritual person be more inclusive of everybody. So when I was first talking about this subject, you guys, I was talking about how a lot of people are going through this state where they are finding out, like, a lot of their like religious leaders, when they find out these religious leaders are involved in some corrupt activity or misbehavior, if you will, the members of their congregation become so disappointed and no longer want to follow them. And I'm always trying to express, stop putting your faith in another human. Put your faith in you. It is you. Stop looking for these external sources that oftentimes religions have you doing. Religions will have you, you need to come to the church. You need to tithe a certain percent. You need to be this way, act more like me, the pastor, this, that, and the other. And so then when these religious leaders come up under fire or being associated with this misconduct or criminal behavior, you guys remember the incident with that pastor, I believe his name was Eddie Long. And people were so disappointed and heartbroken. And all I could think was, that's because you put all of your faith in this other human. You guys have to know that all humans are flawed. So why are you putting these people up on pedestals instead of looking and going within and finding that it is your inner source? You are the God. We all come from this higher source of infinite intelligence, you guys. You don't need to seek these external sources for salvation. Stop looking up to these pastors and priests and all these different other humans and putting them up on a pedestal. As I have said many times before, you are doing yourself a disservice. You are worshiping a false god anytime you are worshiping anything outside of you. It's the God in you that you need to be referring to and looking to and revering, as far as respecting and worshiping. It is you. It's your inner non-physical source that has the answers, that can guide you to anything that you are looking to manifest. So I just wanted to take the time, you guys, to make a video about the differences between when somebody says that they are a very spiritual person and not religious. Or if somebody says, no, I am a religious person, to know what they're really meaning. And so I just wanted to take the time to kind of dissect that and delve into that a little bit deeper as far as the differences between spirituality and religion. Okay, you guys, thanks so much for joining me. I will see you guys on the next video as usual. Love you, love you, love you to pieces. I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.